Hello again, everybody. Back again today, and as you can tell by the title of this video, that this is going to be my top 5 superhero comic book superhero universes in existence. It is a ranking system. It's not just these are my top 5 in no particular order. It is ranked, and it's going to go from what I think is the worst to the best. Also, another thing to keep in mind when you watch this is I'm ranking these as they are currently. And I will acknowledge that because that some of these on this list, they have had high points and they've had low points. And some of them might be in a low point right now, but at one point in the past, they were the best thing since sliced bread. So if that's the case, after I tell you their position on this list, there I will follow up with, just so you know, as a caveat, honorable mention, this comic book superhero universe at this point in time was the shit. So without further ado, let's just get into it. This is going to be one of my shorter videos because it's pretty straightforward and it's not a long list. So let's dive into this. So right off the bat, you might have guessed it. These days, the worst one is DC Comics. It's a sad tragedy. It's a shame, but it just is. It's the worst one right now. It is so convoluted and so mixed up, and so it's gone through so many both like hard and soft reboots to continuity that it's just impossible to follow. It's been going on for like 1985 is arguably the year when you can say DC, the real DC Comics superhero universe started. Everything before 1985 was like there were crossover events and characters met up and interacted, but it wasn't the same in the sense that we think of it nowadays. So that really started in 1985. So you have this giant long just backlog of comic book history, and around 2011 to now it just gets really convoluted and really hard to follow. And yeah, it's a sad shame because it has probably my favorite roster of superhero characters, and it has my favorite comic book character of all time, which is Batman. I know I'm a basic ass bitch, but it doesn't matter. I love Batman, but I'm still like I am an objective enough fan to where even though this universe contains probably my favorite roster of comic book characters, as favorite roster of superhero characters, and my all-time favorite comic book character, Batman, I'm still an objective enough fan to where I can say that, yeah, it's in a real low point right now, so that sucks. Caveat to that, honorable mention, like I said before, DC Comics from the Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline all the way up to the Flashpoint storyline. You can go all the way through the Flashpoint storyline, I guess, and actually you could read Flashpoint. It's not a bad story. But yeah, from Crisis on Infinite Earths to Flashpoint, through Flashpoint, DC Comics was the shit. And it could be number one. If they'd have kept going and maintained that level of quality in their comics and their stories and their art, it would still be number one. If you want some years on this, Crisis on Infinite Earths was a limited series that first came out in 1985, like I said, 1985, and then Flashpoint was towards the end of 2011. So middle of 85 to somewhere in 85. I actually don't know the time of the year, but somewhere in 1985 to towards the end of 2011, DC Comics was number one, in my opinion. It was the shit. So number 4, the Marvel Comics universe. You're kind of like, damn, the big two, DC and Marvel, are the two lowest on the list. Yes, they are. Marvel is what keeps Marvel down so low on this list is not the same as DC. Marvel has this big, long, shared multiverse. DC's also a multiverse. I should have mentioned that, but for the sake of this video, I'm just calling them comics universes. So Marvel has this long-standing shared universe that has been going on, unlike DC, it's been going on relatively uninterrupted since the early 60s, maybe even a little bit before that. And they kind of just do it Simpsons style, where the characters, or South Park style, whatever you want to call it, Family Guy, the characters just never age. Like they do, but they don't. They don't age accurately. Like I said, this has been going on since the 60s, so we're deep into it here. Peter Parker, if this was going anywhere close to real time, Peter Parker would be way too old to be Spider-Man. Stuff like that. So the pacing of events in the Marvel Comics universe is kind of hard to follow, but whatever, who cares? That's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is when you have a long-standing continuity like this that goes all the way back, 50 plus years. It's just a giant deterrent to new readers because it's kind of like, hey, you got some catching up to do, don't you? So yeah, that kind of holds it back a little bit. And then since it is this really long-standing universe that's been 50, we're talking 50 plus years, it is a little played out in that it's just kind of, you know what you're going to get with Marvel. It's Walmart. Marvel is kind of like that brand. It's kind of like Walmart in a sense. It's like it's that there's better shit out there. You know that there is, but it's dependable. You know what you're getting. It's reliable. It's going to be somewhat entertaining. And yeah, that's Marvel. It has once again a great roster of characters. It's just like I said, it's just played out a little bit too much, especially now with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think the entertainment industry is oversaturated with Marvel at this point. It's played out. It's and it's just kind of, it's nothing innovative and new. You go to Marvel when you're like, I want a comic book superhero story. I want a comic book superhero story set in a big collected superhero universe, and I want it to be reliable. I want to know what I'm getting. You go to Marvel. That's what you go to Marvel for. Number 3 is another kind of sad tragedy, and that's the Valiant Comics universe, because it's sad and it's tragic because in this day and age that we're living in, the year 2022, Valiant Comics is suffering very hard. It got bought out by DGM. I'm not sure which one it is. It's this big multimedia entertainment corporation who bought out Valiant Comics and rebranded it Valiant Entertainment for the purpose of turning the comic book universe into a cinematic universe, similar to what Disney did with Marvel. Long story short, their attempt to turn it into a movie universe did not pay off. COVID kind of had a lot to do with that, but there were other factors as well. If you want more info on this whole Valiant situation, I have a video on my channel called Valiant Comics is Dying. It's not their fault. Check that out, and I explained the situation as I see it based on everything I've been able to find on Valiant Comics' current standing. So yeah, since 2018, since that company bought them, the company has basically been like, we don't give a fuck about the comics. They don't pump any money into Valiant Comics, and as a result, as you can expect, like Valiant Comics cannot hire any real talent. They just can't. They can't hire good editors. They can't hire good artists. They can't hire top writers, really good writers. They just don't have the money. They don't have the money for it because this bigger corporation that bought them won't give them the money to do it. So yeah, they keep getting stuck with shit content creators, and because of that, the quality of the comics have gone down, and that's why it's number 3 on this. It is still it is still a long-standing continuity. The current continuity of Valiant Comics goes back to 2012 when they did their big reboot relaunch that started everything over. So the continuity is intact, and it is also a breath of fresh air in that it's not one of the big two. It's not DC or Marvel. So you get into Valiant, you're going to have a good time, especially, early on, because it's gonna be like, oh wow, new interesting characters that aren't the same Marvel and DC that I'm used to. But eventually you are gonna see the dip in quality during the years once the company got bought out. So this is another honorable mention. I just explained, they did their big reboot relaunch of their comics universe in 2012, and then for 6 years they were publishing outstanding comics. It's you want to call them superheroes, but they're really not. They're just interesting superhuman, metahuman characters, sci-fi fantasy characters. But for lack of a better way to put it, we will call it a superhero universe. And it is outstanding during those years from their big relaunch in 2012 all the way up until the company gets bought out in 2018. Those 6 years, the universe is outstanding. And if it wasn't for what has happened since 2018, if it wasn't for the quality shift and the quality downgrade in the comics since 2018, this would be number one. It's not that I wrote here that it could be number one. That's not the case. It would, WOULD, would be number one if it wasn't for what has happened the past few years since 2018. So number two, I don't know if this is going to surprise anybody or not, but the number two is the Hellboy / BPRD comics universe. This universe is great in that it's big, it's complex, it's deep, it has a lot of layers, it has a lot of great, interesting characters. But in terms of the number of like actual comic books and comic book series that you need to read to get this whole story of this universe, it's pretty limited. There's the Hellboy comics, there's the BPRD comics, and there's a few other limited series in there that you need to read. For the most part, it's all pretty well contained. The story is great, and that's because it was worked on by one creator, Mike Mignola. He created Hellboy and the Hellboy universe, and it's his baby, and I'm pretty sure he's let other people work on it, but for the most part, he was the one behind the whole thing. And as you know, the whole saying, like, you get too many cooks in the kitchen, it's a bad thing. Well, you don't have that problem here because this whole thing is Mike Mignola's. So it's his one clear idea, his one clear plan for it. And that's another thing that makes it a great success. It's also just kind of a breath of fresh air from the typical superhero stuff. There's nobody's, well, there are some characters, but overall, no one's wearing costumes, no one has secret identities, and it's very horror, Lovecraftian, gothic, biblical type stories and stuff like that. It's very interesting, it's very unique, it's very good and entertaining. And another thing that this has going for it that the other three I've mentioned do not have going for it is complete and done. The Hellboy universe is done. It's completed. The series have wrapped. And what that means is that since it ended on a high note, since it ended well, it gets to permanently retain that. As I mentioned with DC Comics and Valiant Comics, they've had high periods and low periods, and right now they're in a low period. Hellboy, this comic book universe never has to worry about that. It had its run, it was great, it ended on a high note, and now it gets to maintain that status forever. So that's another thing that this has going for it. If you're looking for something away from the typical superhero, superhuman type shit, this might be your answer. And then number one, a lot of you who, if you pay attention to my channel, you already know what it was going to be. The Invincible Comics universe from Robert Kirkman, his Skybound Comics, Skybound Entertainment imprint of Image Comics. This is, without a doubt, 100%, 150%, the greatest superhero comic book universe ever created. It is, I think there's 7 series. There's 7 comic book series that make up this universe. The main one is, of course, Invincible. That's the flagship series. And man, the art, fantastic. The characters, fantastic. The story, fantastic. And you might be thinking like 7 series, that's not a whole lot to craft a big universe. Like Marvel and DC have so many characters that get their own monthly series, and they have so many teams that they get their own monthly series, and they do crossover events every year, big events. This is proof that all that stuff is not necessary. This universe has so many great characters with so many unique powers and so many unique stories, and it's not just unique, because unique can be, you can have something that's unique and it's not entertaining. It's kind of shitty. It's all entertaining. It's all fun. It's all enjoyable. I cannot recommend it enough. I just can't. I wish more people knew about Invincible, but unfortunately, people are sleeping on this. People are sleeping on comics in general. Other than the big two, Marvel and DC, other than stopping in their local comic book store or ordering off Amazon, a graphic novel trade paperback every once in a while, just because a movie came out and got their interest. People are sleeping on comics in general, but holy fuck. Holy shit, this is so good. I can't recommend it enough. It will eventually get a live action like adaptation. It will. Right now there is a animated TV adaptation on Amazon Prime Video. Season 1 is out. I highly recommend you check that out as well. It is also very, very good. The artwork is keeping in tune with the comic book artwork. The artwork of the animated TV show is keeping in tune with the comic book artwork. I like the voice actors they chose. The fight scenes and action is fantastic, especially in it's so violent. Like this is not a comic book series for little kiddos. This is for grown adult people who want a really good, really interesting, really entertaining superhero comic book universe. That's what this is. I can't recommend it enough. It's the best one. So, yeah, those are them. Those are the top 5, in my opinion. I'm sure other people are going to differ, and so that's fine. And some people's might differ just because, like what I said, like at one point DC was killing the fucking game during those years that I outlined. At one point Valiant Comics was killing the game during those years that I outlined, and just because of those great runs, some people might like Valiant might be their number 1 just because that great 6-year period that they had. DC might be their number 1 just because for almost 30 years they were killing it. So that's all well and good. That's all fine. For me, I made this list based on the current state of these superhero comic book universes now. And yeah, that's the rankings. So let me know what you guys think. Agree, disagree, tell me why. Leave some comments down below. If you like this video, please hit the like button. That really helps out my channel. It helps out the algorithm and all that kind of crap. If you want to help out the channel even more, please check out some of my other videos and maybe subscribe. Other than that, I will talk to you all later.